welcome back to Sports Time HQ. I'm your host, Fernando. Joined with me today is my great co-host, Keith. Keith, how are you doing today? Your Seattle Seahawks are getting wins.
They are. I'm doing good, and even better since Seattle won. A great game. I mean, 48-45. No defenses, who cares? It's all about the offense. But yeah, I'm surprised we have 2 wins. Gino looks good. So we'll see. The whole division is 2-2, so it's wide open at the moment.
So question is, if Seattle wins next week and everyone else drops, Seattle would be in line to be in first place.
I know, but I'm not getting carried away yet. I mean, when you've got a defense that's letting in 45 points against the Lions, it's not great. I'm glad we got the win, but I'm not getting carried away.
Yeah, I'm not getting carried away too much, but I mean, since we're on this game, should we talk about the Lions? The Lions have the number 1 scoring offense, but the number 32 defense.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. If they could get a bit better on defense somehow, they'd be a great team. I mean, Dan Campbell is definitely improving that team, but they're fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, they're really fun to watch. Jared Goff lighting things up. Question is for you, anyways. Jared Goff, we talked about it, I think, in the preseason. At least I think I did. For instance, in the draft for next year, I was saying that the Lions should be getting a quarterback. But if Jared Goff is doing this great in offense, even though the record's 1-3, are they moving on from Jared Goff?
I don't know. It's a tough one. I mean, they are taking steps forward with Goff, so maybe another year, you can keep him there and see what happens. I think the plan was to take a quarterback in the draft next year, especially with the caliber of talent that seems to be coming out. So I don't know. I think they need to, get more guys on defense and help there because they look pretty solid on offense.
Yeah, I mean, they could even take a late quarterback, for instance, in like the late first round or even early second round, for instance.
Yeah, take a chance on one of them guys and, don't waste a valuable pick. I'm sure, things will level out as the season goes on, but there's been lots of surprises so far. I actually thought Detroit were going to beat Seattle, fair. So I was pleasantly surprised that we won.
I mean, I think for anyone who's doing weekly game predictions, it's just been awful to predict. I mean,
big time. I mean, I'm getting them so wrong. It's not even funny at this stage. So yeah, it's all over the place. I'm hoping it sorts itself out soon because I want to get some more wins on the predictions.
Yeah, I mean, Lions end up going to face the New England Patriots, my Patriots, which Bailey Zappi, 4th round pick, took over for Brian Hoyer, who was in concussion protocol. He finished the day with 10 for 15 for 99 yards and 1 touchdown, sacked 3 times. The last time these Patriots had been in last place outright in the AFC East was back in 2014, and that was after week 1. Yeah. Now, the only other time under Bill Belichick that has been in last place outright came in the first season Bill Belichick was a head coach back in 2000. They were in last place for all 17 weeks. So Bailey Zappi, is he the next great thing?
I don't know. I should flip that question to you since you're the Patriots fan. I mean, the NFL is weird to throw up things like this. I mean, I'm not saying he's Tom Brady, but look at the Tom Brady story and all that type of thing. Does he just take his chance now with Mac Jones, out hurt and he's the guy? I mean, what did you think as the Patriots fan? I thought you had a really good game against the Packers because the Packers were, they were way favorites to beat you guys, and you took them all the way to overtime and unfortunately lost to a kick. But I mean, I think Zappi gave you a chance to win.
Yeah, he very much did. And honestly, I mean, coming into this game, I had the Patriots game blown out. That was my prediction. The prediction was they're going to be blown out. I think, 31-20 or something, 31-17. It wasn't that great. But overall, I mean, I think Hoyer should stay on the team. I think Hoyer's a great mentor. And I think with his experience there in New England, I think he brings great value. I think Zappi should be the second one on the depth chart, though.
Okay.
I don't think he goes over Mac Jones yet. But Mac Jones has been playing very awful this season. And I mean,
very awful, not just awful, very awful.
Yeah. I mean, last year we saw him. He was probably one of the best quarterbacks in last year's draft for production wise, not fantasy wise, but production wise. And it just kind of fell off. And I mean, we're kind of used to seeing that with a lot of different quarterbacks. They'll do great their first season and then drop off the next season. So now the question rolls around, is the Patriots and Mac Jones, are they a great fit?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. I don't know. I haven't seen the reports, but is he going? Do you know if he's going to be back this week or is he still out? Because I'd play Bailey Zappi if Brian Hoyer was still stuck in concussion,
Oh yeah,
and roll the dice there and see what happens.
yeah. I mean, I think they mentioned that he was questionable last week. I think that was just the Patriots doing Patriots things, saying, "Oh, they're questionable," but not really giving an answer. I think
Yeah,
Mac Jones is out for the next couple of weeks.
yeah, I do too. I think everything is all real hush hush. Bill Belichick doesn't like things getting out there earlier,
Yeah,
so I think he is out. But I was just waiting to see if you had heard on your reports because, I mean, the concussion protocol. I would imagine Hoyer is going to be okay.
yeah.
But I personally, going forward, would like to see Zappi out there because who knows, he could be the future.
He could be the
Hoyer is
future.
definitely not.
Yeah, Horry's just a mentor, and he's a great mentor. I think he's a great mentor and experienced veteran, but he's just not a starting quarterback for the future. But so you mentioned concussion protocols. Let's go switch over to Tua Tagovailoa. We talked about it last week. We're going to talk about it this week. Tua, what happened? I mean, this was in fact a concussion Sunday. They tried to say that it wasn't, and the reason why they didn't was he would have to be on concussion protocol for 5 days, which would mean he would miss week 4 on Thursday Night Football. So now that he did play week 4 of Thursday Night Football, he goes down, not, I wouldn't say too aggressively, and then he's already knocked out and he's in a kind of state where he can't really move and everything. So talk to me, Keith, about Tua, and was this just a terrible move for the Dolphins?
The Dolphins, yes, it was. I mean, you shouldn't have been out there in the first place. It's the medical staff. I think even the head coach got to take the rap. He's at the end of the day, the book stops with him, and he's got to make a decision about whether he plays or not. And he shouldn't have been out there. I mean, you have Teddy Bridgewater as a backup. It's not like you got a young guy and nobody. Teddy Bridgewater has been in the league for a fair few years now. He did okay when he was out there. I always thought the Bengals were winning this game.
Mm-hmm.
Which they did, but yeah, I think it's a major fail on behalf of the Dolphins organization. I think the medical team, I mean the head coach, NFL really got to investigate this and see what's going on. We know Tua has already been ruled out for this week. Who knows when he's going to get back, but he definitely was concussed in week 3. He came back out there, should have never played again. Then week 4, I mean, it's just a mess, really.
Yeah, NFL and NFLPA have come to the conclusion that if a player is considered instability, like unable to stay up, that they would be ruled out for the rest of the game. And in that case, that would fall under Tua for last Sunday's game in week 3. He'd be ruled out and everything would be probably fine. We wouldn't be talking about this for this week. And Tua may be back this week for the Jets, but unfortunately it totally went the opposite direction. The train derailed from its train tracks, and I mean, hopefully Tua gets better. Obviously ruled out, like you mentioned, against the Jets this week. I think the Jets have a great chance of beating Teddy Bridgewater and the Miami Dolphins. Maybe Dolphins look for a better answer because Teddy looked all right. I don't think he's going to be a great backup. And who knows, maybe Gardner Minshew magic, giving some Dolphins magic.
Minshew magic. That'd be interesting. I've heard some, knocking around Taylor Heineke as well, or, who knows?
Yeah.
These guys that have proven that they can, they're good, decent quarterbacks and serviceable. So yeah, maybe they go after one of these guys.
Yeah, for sure. Kenny Pickett, he's officially named the starter next week against the Bills. I think he's going to beat the Bills next week. No, I'm just kidding. He's not going to be beat the Bills next week.
No. Going by how this season's going with the picks,
yeah, that's true. You just never know. He replaced Mitch Trubisky last week, but nonetheless, he made history. The Steelers' first-round pick became the first quarterback in NFL history to run for 2 touchdowns in his debut, and he also set an NFL record when he was able to have the most passes in a game without one hitting the ground with 13 passes. So maybe some possible chance for Pickett doing some Pickett things.
I don't know. I'm not too sure about this move. I think the Steelers may be writing their season off a little bit too early because Mitch Trubisky was the starter. Why are you benching him after 4 games? It's way too early when we have a 17-week season. So I'm not sure about this. I'm not sure for all the Steelers wide receivers. I think Claypool's droppable right now. Deontay Johnson, don't want to start him. Najee Harris hasn't looked good. I think we'll talk about him later. But for fantasy wise, I'm not in on this offense now.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, Kenny Pickett, I mean, he looked all right. I mean, is the Steelers a starting team, I don't know. I mean, even Najee Harris didn't look good. So, and I know you'll talk about him later on in the show, but I mean, it'll be interesting to see what these Steelers can do because I think the division's still wide open. I mean, Ravens can't find a win. They're missing that.
Ravens are blowing it. It's a big game this week on Sunday Night Football. It's the Bengals and the Ravens. So that's going to be interesting to see how that goes. I think the Bengals will get on top of that division, though. They just need to get, they have the momentum now. But I think, they've had a slow start, but the Bengals should get on top of that division. The Ravens have so many injuries in their secondary. It's like wide open gaps back there. Steelers all around, they're going to rely on their defense, but they're not that great. And Cleveland probably want to hang in there as long as they can until Deshaun Watson gets back, but it could be too late by then. So it's an interesting division.
Yeah, and you mentioned Cleveland. Right now, Cleveland's in first place in the division.
I know, with Jacoby Brissett as the quarterback. It sounds a bit mad.
It's crazy, absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Some couple more notes and news around the league. Javonte Williams, unfortunate situation. His season has come to an end. He tore his ACL and I think LCL. He's been placed on IR. And I mentioned yesterday on WCS Radio 90.1 FM that expect the Broncos to sign another running back. They officially have. It's Latavius Murray. He was signed off the Saints practice squad. And I think he gets a better chance over Mike Boone, in my opinion. I think everyone's so hyped on Mike Boone right now. And I'm going to tell you, he's not on my waiver wire out of the week. And I don't think he's on Keith's waiver wire out of the week for a running back. And I think if you're going to spend your fab and you want to spend all your fab, go get Mike Boone. But immediately try to trade him because his value will significantly decrease at the end of this week.
I would say go get Latavius Murray. I mean, I think he's proven throughout the the years at the Saints, the Raiders. He's good. You know what I mean? He's good. And Melvin Gordon's there, and sure, he just has drops every week. He just has that problem with dropping the ball, fumbles it. I don't know what's going on. I was reading today that they're expecting him to step up, but he's been around so long, he should be able to step up easy. Yep. So for them have to come out and say it, I think that's an issue. I think Latavius Murray could be the guy in this backfield.
Mike Boone on sleeper formats, he's already passed 1.1 million possible ads of the week. So
they're so high. That's because he was on the field so much. He was I don't think he did a whole lot, but he was on the field a lot once Javonte went off.
Yeah, and they saw him on the field a lot, but at the end, he only had 36% snap share. So it's not good. And I like Latavius Murray. We've seen Latavius Murray do special things. Yeah. So I'm all in on Latavius Murray over Mike Boone. Yeah. Lastly, the head coaches. We're through week 4. And there's been rumors on which coaches are on the edge of being fired. I'm going to name you these 3 coaches, and I want you to kind of tell me which one you think would be the better, kind of rank them maybe. Okay. Las Vegas Raiders, Josh McDaniels, 1-3, went out to get Devontae Adams, has Devontae Adams, and still 1-3. Washington Commanders, Ron Rivera, 1-3, went to go get Carson Wentz, Jahan Dotson with a hamstring, Brian Robinson coming back possibly this week, Antonio Gibson not finding anything. Carolina, the Panthers with Matt Rule. Matt Rule somehow finding a way to keep his job, but he's 1-3. Baker Mayfield looks terrible. Sam Darnold sees ghosts on the bench. I mean, between these 3, how are you ranking them of who gets fired first?
Matt Rule, I don't think he sees out the season. I mean, I don't think he's ever been good when he's been there. No. He has probably the best, in my opinion, running back in the league, and they don't use him enough. Baker has looked terrible since moving over. And like you said, you've got Sam Darnold on the bench as a backup, paying him silly money to sit there. But he's no good either. So he would be I think he'd be the first one to go. Josh McDaniels saved himself, I think, this week with the win over the Broncos. I would have had that flipped, and I think maybe we wouldn't even got to this conversation if he had gone 0-4. I think he would have been gone yesterday. But I think he's next on the list because of what they have put into that team. Bringing over Devontae Adams to pair up with Carr back to the college days. I mean, that offense is good. You've seen what Josh Jacobs can do when he gets a full workload. I think that will, progress now. I think Josh Jacobs will be there. You won't see the likes of Brandon Bolden and all these guys trying to, fit in there. Josh Jacobs will be the guy. You still got Darren Waller. I know Renfro's out injured, but this offense is high powered, is good. So if they can't get another 2 wins in the next few weeks, I think he'll be next up. And then it's Ron Rivera. I mean, yeah, okay, they went and got Carson Wentz, but you can't be expecting a whole bunch of wins. They're a very young team. I don't know what happened with their defense. They were better on defense a couple of years ago. I know Chase Young's been missing, but he didn't look good last year. They got lots of things to fix, but I think he'll be spared. And I think he's been around the league enough to, teams know how good he is. He's taken the Panthers to Super Bowl and stuff like that. So I think he'll get the most time. So I think it's Rule will go first, McDaniels, and then Rivera.
And any question on Frank Wright as the Colts head coach, 1-2-1 with Matt Ryan? I mean, Matt Ryan looks awful.
Yeah, Matt Ryan looks awful, but I don't know if you heard Naheem Hines' comments through the week, and he was saying we've always start slow because every year we have a new quarterback, and it's always like, he's got to get in, he's got to get the feeling process, they all got to get on the same page, and that's why it's slow. And I really agree with that. I mean, you can't keep changing quarterbacks every single year, and it's because of Matt Ryan's age, it's likely to change soon again. It might be next year, but it could be 2 years. They haven't got a quarterback that they're going to put the future into. So, I mean, no, I don't think his head's on the chopping block. I think there's enough talent. But what is the big surprise is how bad that defense is. That was one of the top defenses last year. And they're just gone, completely down the drain so far after 4 games. So, I think he'll be on. I think be on a tight leash, all right. But I don't think he's going to get the sack anytime soon.
Okay.
This Thursday is going to be interesting, though. They need to put up a good fight in Denver against the Broncos. They got to show a lot more than they have in recent weeks. But, if they get a bad beat this Thursday, well, then maybe things change. But, if they get a win or it's a tight game, I think it'll be different.
Yeah, 100%. I think Frank Wright is a great coach. The offense has not been there yet. And it could be because of Matt Ryan and the slow start, like you mentioned with Naheem Hines mentioning it. But I do want to mention my top 3. Matt Rule. He's clearly ruling top of the board on being fired. Ron Rivera, I would say, kind of comes number 3 with Josh McDaniels number 2. Reason why is just exactly like you said. Josh McDaniels, I feel, has more of a high-powered offense, of course, versus Ron Rivera. So I think I would name it the exact same way as you did. So that'd be interesting to see.
It will be. I mean, someone's going to go sooner or later. I mean, I don't think, owners, GMs are going to let their teams go 1-5, 1-6, and, still have the same coaches. There will be changes soon.
Exactly. But now it's time to get into our bust of the week. And Keith, let's start with yourself. Who is your bust of the week?
Bust of the week and probably bust of the season so far is Najee Harris for where you took him in your drafts. I mean, he was going in most leagues, probably the end of the first round, start the second. I mean, this week, 18 attempts. Okay, sounds a lot. And then 74 yards, but he got 0 targets. This guy was a target machine last year with Big Ben. No targets this week from either Trubisky or Pickett. That's seriously worrying. And he ends up with just over 7 fantasy points. I mean, that's just that's criminal numbers. I mean, the attempts are good. The yards seem good, but he has to get work in the passing game to be more efficient if he's not picking up the touchdowns. So, yeah, major bust this week and major bust through 4 weeks, really.
Yeah, I mean, for anyone who hasn't watched any shows over the offseason, Najee Harris was so productive because of Big Ben. That was the biggest thing. It was a lot of check down, check down, check down. That's not what Kenny Pickett or Mr. Trubisky kind of is as a quarterback. And that is why a lot of people are so high and they overlooked that. And for anyone who drafted him, I think I took my chance on him in 1 league out of my 18 of them. So obviously, I mean, you like to diversify, your leagues. That way you don't lose every single league if you pick the same players. But Najee Harris definitely is a bust. He's ranked right now as the running back 26, averaging only 11.3 points a game. That is not good at all for Najee Harris. I think he is one of the busts for sure of the week. And again, like you said, bust of the season. But I'll go right into mine because it kind of goes with Najee Harris. That is Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor has looked terrible. I mean, he looked amazing week 1. Week 1, he was an absolute stud. I think he scored 27 fantasy points. The last 3 weeks, 7.2, 12.3, and 3.3. Only 1 touchdown. This Indianapolis Colts offense just looks terrible. I mean, they have barely got to the red zone. Have not looked good. And I really do think that Jonathan Taylor will come back. But I think if there's anyone that you're looking for to get for cheap right now is Jonathan Taylor and Najee Harris. But I do think they will come back, especially Jonathan Taylor. He will definitely come back. You may still have to pay a hefty price, though.
Yeah, they could be buy lows. I think Najee Harris definitely is a guy that you could go and get. I mean, his schedule in the next couple of weeks is not great, but then kind of the back end of the schedule gets better for him. So it could be one to wait on. Jonathan Taylor has been really disappointing. I think, like you said, after week 1, it's just been terrible. Like, you're taking this guy as the first pick. You are not happy. I mean, he had his worst production for fantasy this week since he's been in the league. So I still think, one, I don't think people are going to trade him away because they're going to hold him and hope for where they took him in drafts, unless they get a really, really good offer. But most people want top players for him. So yeah, 2 guys you have to hold and hope the production probably gets better. But I think you could do something and probably get Najee as a buy low.
Yeah, 100%. So those are our 2 busts, Jonathan Taylor and Najee Harris. We're going to go to the comments. Sebastian back here with a question. Justin Jefferson, Zach Ertz, Aaron Jones for Cooper Kupp, Darren Waller, and Ramondre Stevenson. Full PPR, which side looks more appealing? I think this is lopsided right here. I go Justin Jefferson, Zach Ertz, Aaron Jones. I love all those 3 players. Those were 3 of my favorites. Justin Jefferson has been my top favorite since coming into the league. A lot of people took other players in front of him. He was always in my dynasty pick every single year. He'll always still be in my lineups. Jefferson, I love. Ertz was my guy for tight ends. I think he has the value there. And Aaron Jones doing Aaron Jones things. I like Aaron Jones. I'm not too worried. Then you look on the Cooper Kupp side. Yeah, he's wide receiver 1. He's great. He's amazing. But I think you get better chance with Justin Jefferson because of the Zach Ertz and Aaron Jones package, because then you got Waller and Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah,
I mentioned that Waller is very questionable this year because of how much talent's there. So it's going to be a lot to go around. Zach Ertz doesn't really have much competition. Team doesn't have that many players there for now anyways. Aaron Jones is 100% an RB1 over Ramondre Stevenson. Ramondre Stevenson's kind of, though, a flex play.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on your side. I want the Jefferson, Ertz, and Jones side. I do think it's a bit one-sided, but I can kind of see where the trade's coming from. I mean, I personally have Jefferson over Kupp, but most people probably have Kupp over Jefferson. So then Waller over Ertz. I can see it because when DeAndre Hopkins comes back, I think Ertz, his production levels will drop. I don't think he's been okay. I don't think he's been brilliant so far. So I can see, and things can probably only get better for that Raiders offense. Mm-hmm. So I can see why, the Waller over Ertz is happening. But for me, Jones over Stevenson is just so clear. That Patriots backfield with Harris and you throw in there, it's like, if Stevenson was the workhorse, he'd be great. I think I'd pick him over Jones every week, but that's not going to happen. So it's the Jefferson, Ertz, and Jones side for me.
So the reason why I think Ertz will stay fantasy productive is because I think once Hopkins comes back, the person that gets really killed in this once he comes back is Dortch. He's going to light the torch, and then he's going to get watered on the torch.
Yeah, he didn't do great this week.
Exactly.
But that's because Rondell was back too. So yeah, Kyler hasn't looked great either though.
No, he hasn't. He's been still putting up fantasy production, just hasn't looked
but like if you're actually watching the games, it's kind of like you're kind of waiting for it to happen. But then again, the numbers for fantasy is not too bad.
Sebastian, if you have Jefferson, Ertz, and Jones, I really think or if you have Kupp, Waller, and Ramondre Stevenson, someone offers you Jefferson, Ertz, Aaron Jones, smash accept that right now. I think you win that deal, and I think you win your season with those 3 players.
Yeah, agreed.
Matthew has a question here. Would you trade Stafford, James Robinson, and Christian Kirk for Jonathan Taylor? I think you're giving a little too much for Jonathan Taylor because James Robinson has been an elite RB1. Christian Kirk has also been an elite wide receiver 1, and Stafford's, I mean, you could just throw him in the deal. The question for you is it a 2 quarterback league? And is it PPR?
Yeah, I mean, 1 QB leagues, I don't really like trading quarterbacks because you always got guys that are on the waiver wire you can just pick up and stream. James Robb and Kirk for Jonathan Taylor with I don't mind it. I think if I was getting Jonathan Taylor for this and I knew I had, if I had a Burrow on the bench there or something that I can play, so I'm playing week in, week out. He must be happy with his other running backs. He's going to have JT and someone else. And Kirk, I'm not so high on Kirk, to be honest. I mean, it took him so long to finally turn up. He was on 0 points for so long last week. So I don't actually mind this if you have someone, that's probably productive as a quarterback. That, all right, if you're happy with streaming, that's fine, especially if it's one quarterback. If it's 2 QB league, then you're going to be struggling.
He does mention it's a 1 QB league. And here's the thing. If Jonathan Taylor was kind of still that RB1 right now, I think I'd be fine with this deal because you're still getting that production. But with Jonathan Taylor being like RB26, RB22, I'm not willing to give up an RB1 and wide receiver 1 because that just loses value on your team.
Yeah.
In my opinion. He does say that he is looking to pick up Mac Jones. That is the one player I would stay away from.
Yeah, in fantasy, I would not be going near Mac Jones.
I know who's there. Jared Goff, I know we'll mention in a little bit. Jared Goff is a great pickup. Geno Smith has been kind of looking good.
I mean, Cooper Rush, if you want to go that far down. I mean, I won a game last week with Geno Smith and Cooper Rush in a Devy League. I mean,
wow.
Yeah, that's our Devy League. I mean, my team's completely rebuilt and I have Dak and Watson. So, I got stung there. But the production fantasy-wise for these guys has been pretty good over the last 2 weeks. So, yeah.
J-Rob and Christian Kirk is on his bench. He has Chubb and Eckler.
I mean, if you have Chubb and Eckler, I don't really know why you got to burst the bank to go get JT. I know Eckler hasn't been doing much up until this week. Up until this week, he was very good. Or up until this week, he wasn't good. And then he was great this week. But like Chubb has been so solid. I think Eckler's just going to kick off from here. I don't really think you need to go get JT at this moment in time. I get it. You're probably
maybe go for a wide receiver.
Go get him by low, I suppose. But yeah, I don't mind the deal. I would actually do it. But like, you need to stream quarterback there, and I wouldn't say Mac Jones. I would go get Jared Goff.
Yeah, I'd get someone like that. Even getting possibly a wide receiver. Package Kirk and Robinson, the two. Yeah. I'm fine with that too. Maybe get, who knows, who's been all right. I mean, Mike Williams, I would stay away from.
T. Higgins, if he's fit. T. Higgins has been great so
far. He's trying to run triple RB. JT would be a flex play. I mean, you're fine with that. I mean, if you're fine with,
I think it's great if you can get it. Personally, I think it's great because like he's going to have more good days than bad days. There's good days ahead for Jonathan Taylor.
I don't know how you're.
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. Just go stream quarterback, or go get Jared Goff. You just need to be solid there. You can't be giving up, solid production, and then JT, has his down weeks. So
exactly. And I don't know how your wide receiver core is, but obviously getting rid of Christian Kirk, you must have two or three solid wide receivers that you're starting every week. So I mean, yeah, I'm fine with JT in the flex. You're bound to win the league.
Yeah, he's gonna get hot, and I think with just them 3 running backs, I think you definitely got to make playoffs anyways.
Yeah. Let's go into our biggest surprises of the week. And my biggest surprise is Josh Jacobs. He's kind of been a surprise kind of all season. For a lot of people, I know I mentioned that he could be a sneaky draft pick this year since his production has fell and his value fell in the preseason before the season started. He's currently right now the RB7, averaging 16.7 points a game. His fantasy points have gone up every single week. And I know last week, that's where a lot of his fantasy points came, and he scored just over 30 points. I'm not too worried on his fantasy production. I think it stays that way, especially if Josh McDaniels stays in that head coaching position. Because Josh McDaniels, former offense coordinator for Patriots, they like to run the ball. And I think they're going to keep giving it to Josh Jacobs, and that's why I like Josh Jacobs. And if you have him, I think you're absolutely winning.
Yeah, I like him coming into the season for basically the same reasons as you said. McDaniels, very run-minded coach. We've seen that with the Patriots. And the big thing with this is they won the game, and they won it using Jacobs a lot. So I think that's how it will go going forward. I think you'll see his usage go through the roof. I mean, it helps balance out the team. Everybody is just focusing on Devontae Adams and Darren Waller. But now you've got a decent run game. It allows the wide receivers to, have more space and open there because the defense doesn't know what's coming. So, yeah, I really like this. I like him going forward. He's a guy I think people can go after. I mean, you might have to pay a lot now after this one big week, but I think he's a guy that could definitely, make it into the playoffs. He's a guy to watch going forward, I think.
Yeah, I like Jacobs, and he's someone that isn't that big of a name, obviously he is big of a name, but a lot of people have kind of faded away from him. So he's a good player to pick up.
Yeah,
Like,
he's been faded in the last 2 years, really.
Yeah.
I mean, the talent was definitely there. It was more the usage and how he was,
Exactly.
he was being used on the field. So,
yeah. Who's your surprise player of the week?
oh, it's my boy Geno Smith. I mean, he just balled out. I mean, what did he get? 340 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was over 30 fantasy points. I mean, he's done it in back-to-back weeks. I think everybody's expecting the Seahawks to fall flat on their face. And this year, I was. I mean, I was happy just to beat Russ week 1. That would be it. If we lost all the other games, I mean, I can't say I'd be fine with it, but beating Russ week 1 was sweet. But Geno's looked good. And he's looked good for fantasy. I mean, are you running and rushing off to go get him? Off the waiver wire. I'm not too sure. But the Seahawks have shown that they're going to put up a fight in every single game. Their defense, it's young, it's not going places, but we still have DK Metcalf, we still got Tyler Lockett and Will Disley and Colby Parkinson. He likes it. Geno likes to throw to the tight ends too. We've seen. So, I mean, I'm happy. I'm happy we're 2-2 as a Seahawks fan. But if you've got Geno, I just have to have him in a Devy league. I've been happy with his production so far. I think he's worth a waiver pickup. I mean, in 2 QB leagues, you definitely have him, whether he's on your bench or not. But you could probably start him in certain games.
Oh yeah, 100%. And the question I'm going to give to you is: are you starting Geno Smith over Russell Wilson?
Well, if you look at their numbers, yes, you are. I mean,
yes,
Geno Smith has just been, way better than Russ. And I just heard that Russ has got a shoulder dinged up this week as well. So, we've seen before when Russ has been dinged up and, come back too early from the finger, he has not been, he's not been great. So we'll see what happens, because even when he's been fit and healthy, he's not been great. I don't know what's going on with this offense. The new coach there does not look good. They've got a lot of issues with clock management and stuff like that. Russ looks like he's back in Seattle with a bad offensive line and not really trusting what he has in front of him, because he's not throwing the ball away enough when needed, when he should be. He's wasting a lot of times. He looks best when he does scramble around. I agree with that, but I know the new system there, they're basically trying to turn him into kind of the Aaron Rodgers pocket passer type of thing. It's going to take time, whether it suits or not. I'm not too sure, but it's going to take a while for Denver to click. So yeah, I might start Geno over Russ.
Yeah, and it's a tough division. Russell Wilson, 980 yards total right now for the season, with only 4 touchdowns and 1 interception. You go look at Geno Smith, 1,037 yards, 6 touchdowns, and just 1 more interception than Russell Wilson. So hypothetically, QB9 versus QB12, I'm willing to start Geno Smith over Russell Wilson.
Yeah, and what's so funny is that the Seahawks are this running team, and then you look at the stats of Geno, and you're like, "What the hell's going on?" So
yeah, and I'll talk to him talk about him a little bit more later on in the show. But Sebastian got another question here: Jamar Chase and Zeke for Justin Jefferson. Smash that accept button. I'm going Jefferson.
I want Jefferson, but I don't know if you're giving up.
Zeke hasn't looked good.
Zeke hasn't. I mean, I actually think Zeke looks okay. It's just the way the offense is on the offensive line. I mean, I think he looks better than last year. But there's not a whole lot between Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. Jefferson's had his down weeks, and then he blew up again. Jamar has kind of been a bit more steady, I think. I want Jefferson, but I don't know. I still think the Chase and Zeke deal is probably better. I mean, because you're giving yourself a chance when Dak comes back that Zeke could go off. I mean, I'm not
too worried.
This is tough because Jefferson's my number 1, but I still think you're giving up too much. So I'm going Chase and Zeke. There we go.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson right now, the wide receiver 4, Jamar Chase, the wide receiver 12. Just wanted to point that out. Just wanted to point that out a little bit.
There'll be days ahead for Jamar. Don't you worry.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Is he one of your streamers of the week? We'll get into the streamers of the week.
No, my streamer of the week is Jameis Winston or Andy Dalton. Depends who is playing this game. I mean, they narrowly lost this week. Did you see the double doink?
Yes, I did see the double doink.
The double doink where It was so I was watching it going. Everybody in London is waiting for overtime. They just want overtime, and then when the thing, it hits the post, and you're like, "Oh, you're gonna get overtime," and then will it fly over? And then it didn't happen.
Yep.
So, but I've been saying Jameis Winston. I think he's been good for fantasy for all season, really. You know what I mean? He's been average, and then all of a sudden he takes off later on in games. Andy Dalton's gonna take over the red rifle, as they call him. I mean, he's probably one of the best backups to have in the league. So, I mean, I think he did a good job. I was expecting the Vikings really to be to blow the Saints away with all the Saints injuries. Michael Thomas being out as well, Kamara being out, and I think Andy Dalton gave them a great chance to win. So I think they're with the stream this week.
Yeah, and you know what? Michael Thomas, he's facing injury again.
I know. I mean, is this going to be another foot issue and he'll go missing again? I'm not too sure. I think we'll just have to follow the reports this week, but I think it's interesting that he's only back. He looked good, and then he's injured again.
We have breaking news.
Ooh, what's going on? Tell me.
Tom Brady has a minor rotator cuff injury.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me he's retired mid-season. Or not mid-season, start the season.
Yeah, that actually decided to make him retire. Yeah, that's the only breaking news I got. Not big.
Oh,
just wanted to get that out there.
I mean, who's the backup there now? Blaine Gabbert, is it? So does that mean he's in play?
Yeah, he might be. Is he a stream? No.
No.
My stream of the week is Brian Robinson Jr., the man, the myth, the legend. Coming off, getting shot like a couple of weeks ago, a few weeks ago,
21 days ago or something.
Yeah,
Brian Robinson.
Yes, I don't know, something like that. It was crazy, and he now could play week 5, and he's expected to be activated off the reserve non-football injury list. So that just means that if he's starting, stream him. I'm not saying to start him. I'm nervous on all the running backs there. Gibson, of course, the 1 week that he needs to show that he's productive and should stay as a starter, obviously completely does not happen. He doesn't look like he's a starter. Love the guy. I think Brian Robinson's going to take over in that backfield, unfortunately. And I think it's Brian Robinson time coming up.
Yeah, it just depends when he gets activated, I suppose. But Gibson has all the talent. They just don't want to give him all the usage. Bit like we were talking about Josh Jacobs. J.D. McKissick is still there in there doing his thing, and kind of, he'll still be mixing in with Brian Robinson when they come back. It's kind of like a backfield you want to kind of stay away from, I think, though. I get Robinson is streamable because I think he'll go in ahead of Gibson. It's just that the three of them are all going to mix it up at some stage. So who's going to get the most production? It's kind of unknown at this stage.
Yeah, it's J.D. McKissick, Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson. That's going to be the question on who ends up getting more production, more snap percentage, if anything.
Yeah.
But Brian Robinson and Jameis Winston / Andy Dalton, whichever one starts for New Orleans.
Yeah, just the one on that. They are playing my Seattle this week. So, like I said,
high-scoring game.
I think it's going to be, it could potentially be high-scoring because our defense is young. And, as we've seen last week, not very good in areas. So, no, you could take advantage of that.
But it's now time to go to our waiver wire quarterbacks of the week. I'll start with myself since we already mentioned him for your surprise of the week, excuse me. He's my ad of the week. That's Geno Smith. Geno Smith, 15.1% owned, 18.5 points a game. He's facing New Orleans this week. We already talked about how it could be possibly a high-scoring game. Right now, the QB 9, 320 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also had 7 attempts for 49 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown last week. He's been having 17-plus points in the last 3 of the 4 games. So, realistically, he's got a 75% chance to score over 17 points, right? I expect him to score right around that 17-plus points. I don't see him scoring another 31 points, basically, that he scored last week. But his rushing upside does, in fact, help him. Is he a risky play? I mean, you kind of put him in expecting that he's not going to do good. And then when he does do good, you just get happy from it. Like Keith mentioned, in a Devy league, he's got Cooper Rush and Geno Smith. He started him. And you know what? He's happy about it because he's still producing. So I'm not worried on starting him at all. I'm willing to start Geno Smith.
I mean, it's a ballsy call. I'll give you that one. I mean, but I don't disagree necessarily. I think he's looked pretty good through 4 games, and he's shown what he can do for fantasy. He's putting up high numbers again. Yes, I don't expect him to put over 30 every week. This week, the Saints defense obviously will be a lot better than the Lions, but I still expect the Seahawks to go out and give it a good go. Probably another high scoring game if, the Seahawks will probably need to, they're in New Orleans, so they'll have to keep up pace, I'd say, with them. But yeah, I'd expect another 20 plus point game from Geno. So yeah, he's definitely streamable this week. So he's going to take off the waivers.
Yeah, good one. Only 15% owned. Let's go into the comments. No one saying, should I trade Keenan Allen for Hopkins? I think realistically, no one should trade at all a wide receiver for a wide receiver or same position player for the same position player. Because either way, whoever is the trade, that deal goes through. It's basically whoever scores more fantasy points wins. I think if you add like a running back, wide receiver, or a tight end, running back, whatever it is, not position for a position, I think it just isn't the greatest type of trade. I like them both. I think Keenan Allen gets more production than Hopkins because Hopkins, we just know when he's still facing suspension, Keenan Allen should be back this week. I'm willing to take the chance on Allen over Hopkins, but I do love Hopkins. Don't get me wrong.
I'm going the other side. I agree with you what you said. I'm not big on same position for same position on trades, but I think, if you're happy that you can wait on Hopkins because you've been missing Keenan Allen anyways for the last 3 weeks. I think Hopkins is, he's a wide receiver one ready to come back. Week 7, I think, is it?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the team that cards can only get better. They've been pretty bad so far. They can only get better. He's going to help Kyler Murray when he gets back. So if you're happy waiting on Hopkins, I do the trade because I would take D-Hop.
Yeah, so I'll be interested to see. But I don't recommend trading wide receiver for wide receiver, position player for position player. Zach Holt saying, who won this trade? Cortland Sutton, Treylon Burks, Tyler Conklin for Kyle Pitts, Pittman, and Cordell Patterson. It's been Pity City for both Pittman and Pitts. Cordell Patterson on the IR for the next 4 weeks.
Yeah.
I like Sutton a lot. I like Sutton over Judy. I like Treylon Burks. He's not too bad. And Tyler Conklin has been a great tight end this year. I'm going with that side.
Yeah, Sutton, Burks. I know he's going to be out for a bit now. He got hurt. But Sutton, Burks, and Conklin for me. Kyle Pitts. I mean, if this is Dynasty, you probably have to say Kyle Pitts and Pittman because Pitts is going to be the guy. I know he's doing absolutely nothing at the moment, and you're probably really, really mad where you took him in your drafts if it's a redraft league. If it's Dynasty, I like the Kyle Pitts Pittman side, but in redraft leagues, it's Sutton, Burks, and Conklin for me.
Yeah, I mean, easy one there for me. I like Tyler Conklin. He was my waiver wire ad last week. Cortland Sutton, we've both been in on.
Yep.
Treylon Burks has just kind of been there.
He's kind of been doing okay, and then he got banged up, so it looks like he's going to be out. But Conklin's been the surprise. He's been interesting for the Jets. He's definitely been good.
And right now, Conklin is technically better than Kyle Pitts.
It wouldn't be hard to be better than Pitts right now anyways. If you threw one of us out there and caught 2 balls, we'd be better than Pitts.
Yeah, tight end 18 right now. I can be the tight end 17. Don't worry. Anyways, let's get back to the waiver wire ads of the week. Who is your player? Are we going golfing?
We're going golfing with Jared Goff. I mean, the number one offense, you can't go wrong. 378 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Okay. It was always going to happen. The game was so high scoring. But he's had like over 15 points in 3 out of 4 games so far. I have to say, he was missing so many players too. He was missing Swift, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and he still got the job done.
Josh Reynolds,
TJ Hawkinson, these guys stepped up. So yeah, I mean, the guy is a must get for me. I think this week they play your boys. They play the Patriots, who they're kind of he got a bit of an inexperienced secondary there that he could take advantage of. So I mean, I wouldn't be afraid to play golf in any league. If I had him in Superflex or 2QB, he's a start. Like he's in there straight away. But I think he's a guy get off the waivers and see what happens. He's not a guy that you watch and you think he looks great, but his production for fantasy so far has been very good.
Yeah, this man is a QB5. He was actually my top waiver wire quarterback of the week, but you ended up taking him from me. So I had to go with the second guy, Geno Smith. But Jared Goff, he's been absolutely electric. He's QB5, 44.1% owned. He's really good right now. Is he the future for the Lions? We don't know. I mean, I really don't know, but he's got 11 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, and he's done absolutely amazing. I'm willing to pick him up, and I think he should be rostered in every format, every league. I mean, if you don't have him and he's in the waivers, you should pick him up because he most likely is doing better than your quarterback right now in your starting lineup, unless it's like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, all those top names.
Yeah, agreed.
So that's that. That's our waiver wire quarterbacks, Geno Smith and Jared Goff. Let's get into our running backs. We already know that Jonathan Taylor is the new Gonathan Taylor. Let's go with your waiver wire pick. Who is it?
I think a guy I brought up in maybe last week or before, I can remember, but Raheem Mostert. I mean, I know there's other guys out there like Mike Boone that we were saying, but I just think Mostert is a way more solid guy. He has been an RB1 before with the 49ers. He's seen his snap share go up every week now over Chase Edmonds. I mean, 15 attempts, 69 yards, 2 receptions. Is the fancy point numbers aren't going to blow you away. It's 10 fancy points. He's probably like, RB3 flex kind of play. But I think moving forward, he's only going to get better and better. He's just missing that one big breakaway run that he always has. He did it with the 49ers all the time and you cash in big fancy points on him. But he's sitting there on most people's waiver wires. I think he's a must add because going forward, he could end up being an RB2.
I'm a little iffy on him only because he's an all right running back. I don't think I'm willing to start him yet. The highest he scored is 10.9 points back in week 2 against Baltimore. Last week he scored 10.1 points. A little iffy on him in Miami. I think, in my opinion, he's a stream option this week, only because Teddy Bridgewater. I want to see what happens with Teddy Bridgewater in that offense. Do they give it to the run game more, or do they give a chance to Teddy Bridgewater, give the ball to him? That's the question for me. Mostert, I think he's fine to stay on the waivers, but he's a good streamer option.
Okay, Raheem Mostert or Kenny Gainwell?
Oh, man. I would go with Mostert only because Gainwell is a backup.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the dilemmas in one of my leagues I was thinking about, but that's why it came to my head to throw it out there. But, I agree. It's Mostert for me.
Yeah. Mostert, your guy, my guy, I said that he was a streamer 2 weeks ago. I hope you maybe either streamed him or possibly picked him up because it's Tyler Algier. That man, he's doing things. He's doing great things. 16.9% owned. He's obviously only averaging 6.1 points a game, but that's because he's a backup to Cordell Patterson. Facing Tampa Bay this week, tough matchup, but 10 attempts, 84 yards. He caught his only target for 20 yards. The man is good. I think he's really good, and I think Patterson being on the IR now, out for 4 weeks, I think a lot of people were saying that Huntley may be the starter. I don't see Huntley being the starter. If you really look at it, Algier obviously had 44% snap percentage, 22% snap percentage for Caleb Huntley. Caleb Huntley finished the same amount of attempts as Algier, 10 attempts, 56 yards, 1 touchdown. But here's the issue. The majority of Huntley's production came on only 1 drive in the second half. So I like Algier a lot more. I've liked him since he came into the league with the Atlanta Falcons. I think Cordell Patterson is going to be looking from the bench on if Algier starts to produce.
Yeah, I think this is Algier's time to shine. It's time to take over the backfield there because, Patterson's gone down. I still think when Patterson comes back, if he's just the 4 weeks or whatever, he will have a say in this because he can be used as like a wide receiver or, hybrid type of running back thing, which is good for their offense. The only downside with Algier is that you've got Mariota running all the time. That takes away some of, the rushing upside. But I do think he's one of the top running back ads this week. And I do think I think he'll be there over Caleb Huntley. That wouldn't bother me. I watched Huntley and I wasn't very impressed with what I see, and I think Algier definitely looks a better one.
So I want to ask you real quick. Something came up in my head for Atlanta, anyways. In the flex option this week, are you starting Algier or Kyle Pitts?
Oh, Algier, I'd say. I'm not starting Kyle Pitts in most leagues. I think you've got to pick Tyler Algier. I mean, until
that's an interesting question.
It is. Until we see some production out of Kyle Pitts, I mean, you can't trust the guy. Mariota's just not looking his way. It's kind of like, Drake London and nobody else for a while there. So, that's an interesting question. I still think I'll go Tyler Algier. I just think he'll end up with more fantasy points. Simple.
Yeah, I know I mentioned that I'm all out on Kyle Pitts this year. I was out on him. A lot of people had him top 3. I had him at like top 5 or top 6. So that was an interesting question I wanted to say. No.
Yeah, it is. I mean, with Kyle Pitts, it's the position, right? It takes a while. Everybody thought he'd hit the ground running and stuff like that. He got 1 touchdown last year only, and everybody thought, he'd take a big step forward. It's just the way this offense is run, whatever Arthur Smith is doing, Mariota. I mean,
Mariota's not the guy.
He's not the guy, but he's actually given them a better chance to win games,
Yeah.
I think. That's the only thing. But, they need to figure it out and get the ball to Kyle Pitts.
Tyler Algier, Raheem Mostert, our 2 waiver wire running backs of the week. Let's go into our wide receivers. And let me go back to New York for the Jets. Corey Davis, someone who many people fell off on because he was basically all out. I think I'm honestly going to be honest. I think he went undrafted in every league. He's 7% owned right now, averaging 13.3 points a game against Miami this week. Reason why I'm saying Miami this week is because cornerback Xavier Howard, he was injured last week and he may miss week 5. That's huge for the wide receivers on the Jets. Last week, 18.4 points for Corey Davis, 7 targets, 5 receptions, 74 yards, and you can't forget that lone touchdown. Wide receiver 26 right now overall on the season. He's been a bust, of course, for many years, but he's right now, I think, a solid wide receiver 3 with wide receiver 2 upside.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
You don't like him.
I don't know. I agree. I'm not a big fan on just the Jets in general. There's just Elijah Moore, Corey Davis. I mean, Tyler Conklin. And then I'm just not so high on Zach Wilson, really. I mean, I'm glad they won. I thought they did all right, but I actually thought they looked better with Joe Flacco.
Yeah, I think they did too.
Corey Davis, to be fair, has shown that he can have, he can be productive in previous years. It's just not a guy I'm really in on. So, breaking news! Come on, tell me.
Colts are undecided if Jonathan Taylor will play Thursday night.
Oh, so that means Philip Lindsay probably gets a uptick, and
him and Naheem Hines.
So there's
Naheem Hines is a start.
Hines is a must start, and if Jonathan Taylor's definitely not out there, then I think Philip Lindsay, we've seen him before, be really good. So he's an interesting guy to go get off the waivers.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off on breaking news. Just saw it,
You're good. Yeah, I mean, I'm not, just to kind of finish off, I'm not massively high on Corey Davis, to be honest. I'm not massively high on any Jets, probably outside of Conklin or maybe Breece Hall. But yeah, I mean, I'm iffy on Davis.
I am iffy on Davis too, but you may have also stole my wide receiver of the week. So I just want to mention that. But no, I do like Davis, though. I'm actually looking at him in all my waiver pickups. For anyone who does need a wide receiver, I think he's a solid wide receiver. Of course, like I mentioned, averaging 13.3 points a game. That's not bad for a wide receiver. I think that's a solid wide receiver 2, flex play, 3 option.
Yeah, it's probably not going to be consistent. That's the only thing.
It's not your ideal candidate to plug in and play, for sure. Yeah. But who is your waiver wire wide receiver?
So it's the guy that you are obviously going to go for, Romeo Doubs. I was so surprised he was only 46% owned in leagues. I mean, that was crazy. I thought it'd be way higher, but I mean, he had 8 targets, 5 receptions, 47 yards, and the all-important touchdown. Probably unlucky not to have 2. Kind of spilled it outside of his, on landing. But I think we kind of know now what's going on in Green Bay. I think it's Hazard and Romeo Doubs who are your guys, a wide receiver. Tonyan's there too. Bought him last week. I think brought up 2 weeks, out of the 4 waiver wire has been on. But I think they're the main guys. I think Dobbs is probably going to be the number 1. He knows. I mean Aaron Rodgers knows he can trust them. He also can trust Hazard. And you've got Tonyan and you've got Jones and Dillon out of the backfield. I think that's pretty much your offense. But I think Dobbs is he could be a wide receiver too. I mean, I have him in some leagues and I'm playing with my flex. I think he got me 13 points in most leagues. It was pretty good, but I think he's a must own at this stage. Yeah,
I really like Lazard, but Romeo has the connection with Juliet, and Romeo obviously has the connection with Aaron. So I think Romeo Doubs is definitely the guy to pick up for wide receivers on Aaron Rodgers' offense. And don't forget that Romeo Doubs would have had 20-plus fantasy points this week if it wasn't for that drop late in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, exactly. He would have been way higher. I mean, I was happy enough because I played him on my flex, but if he had got that other touchdown, he would have been, that nice wide receiver 2 number.
Oh, 100%. Even possibly knocking on the door of wide receiver 1 number.
Exactly. Yeah.
So Corey Davis, Romeo Dobbs, Romeo loving his Aaron. Anyways, let's go on to our waiver wire tight ends. Let's finish this one off. Who is your waiver wire tight end of the week? Let's give it to me.
It's Hayden Hurst. I mean, he's been pretty consistent. He got 11 fantasy points this week, 4 targets, 3 receptions, only 27 yards, but he got the touchdown. They are playing the Ravens this week, who are giving up so many passing yards. It's the most in the league. I think Burrow could just throw the ball around. I think you could see Higgins have a good day once he's out there. I know he's kind of iffy at the moment, but I think he'll be out there. Boyd have a good game. Jamar, I think, will come. I think this is his game to light it up this season so far, and I think Hayden Hurst can definitely get in the end zone again. So I mean, I'm expecting a pretty high scoring game because Lamar's not going to go down quietly. He's going to come out running and throwing as well too. But I think Hayden Hurst can have a really good game this week.
No question on Tyler Conklin. You don't like him? I don't like him.
No, I do like Tyler Conklin. I said outside of in the Jets, I said Tyler Conklin was one of the guys I actually do like.
So are you starting Conklin over Hurst, or are you starting Hurst over Conklin?
I'm going with Hurst this week, just purely because of Baltimore secondary. I think Burrow will just be let fly this week.
I mean, it's interesting to see. Hurst had a lot of production the first 2 weeks with 8 and 7 targets. He didn't get he hasn't gotten over double digits until this week, and that's due to the fact of his touchdown. Take that touchdown away, he only has about 5.7 points. I'm a little worrisome with Hayden Hurst. I think I would rather start Tyler Conklin, maybe even give a chance to Dalton Schultz. I know he gave you a donut if you started him this week, but I'm willing to have Dalton Schultz as a bounce back player this week. I'm not in on Hayden Hurst, only like we mentioned before. It's an elite offense. Joe Burrow has Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Joe Mixon there. I'm not too in on Hayden Hurst. My take.
It's okay. It's all right. We'll see what happens this week. I'm hoping Hayden Hurst gets another double digit this week, and then I'll be happy.
Are you starting Hayden Hurst over Gerald Everett?
No, Gerald Everett every day.
Okay, because he's my waiver wire tight end of the week. Gerald Everett, the guy, the man, the myth, the legend. I talk about him almost every week. He needs to be over 100% owned. Why is he not? I don't know. You tell me. He's 55.4% owned. I'm hoping after this week, I don't have to talk about him again until he's over 70% owned.
It's going to be like your Hunter Renfrow last year, so you probably will be talking to him for a while until he gets it.
Exactly. He'll do a dud this week and then lose some numbers. Talk about him next week. Start to come back. Anyways, 12.3 points a game. That's something you would like to see out of tight ends. You like to see over double-digit numbers. Tight end 6 right now, 17.1 points last week, 6 targets, 5 receptions, 61 yards. Don't forget that touchdown. You minus that touchdown, he still is at 11.1 points, which again is still double digits. It's still not bad. I like it. But any tight ends that score a touchdown, take the touchdown out. That is realistically how much you should be looking at their fantasy production, in my opinion. Touchdown is just kind of like a lucky shot. Just like last year, we saw Hunter Henry scoring a touchdown every week. That was the only reason why he was productive. Take those touchdowns away, he's irrelevant. No one talks about him last season. Anyways, Gerald Everett, he finishes a 10-5 last week. I'm starting him over Kyle Pitts. We've already mentioned this is a non-Kyle Pitts show here, of course.
Definitely.
But yeah, I want to
Kyle Pitts fan. Sorry, but yeah, it's not going to work.
Yeah,
not right now.
Let's hear your take on Gerald Everett. Do you like him?
Yeah, big fan on Everett. My only concern is when Keenan Allen comes back. What's the production like? But I still think he's a massive threat in the red zone. High-powered offense. Justin Herbert actually looks pretty good, even though he's banged up. He's shown he can have can hold multiple receivers and a tight end. He can pass around. So it's a really high-powered offense that can give up big fantasy production. Like we've seen Williams bounce back last week with big numbers. Gerald Everett had high numbers, and Keenan Allen's only going to add to this offense. So I still think he'll be fantasy relevant with Keenan Allen back. You won't be getting the near the 20-point range, I don't think. But I still think you can get into double digits, the low end of it. And if he has a touchdown, then you'll be even more happy.
Yeah, Gerald Everett, Hayden Hurst are 2 waiver wire tight ends. Before we cap off today's show, Richie has a question. Should I trade Josh Jacobs for Mike Williams and Zach Ertz? I'm not really in too much on Mike Williams because Keenan Allen's been out. I want to see what Keenan Allen does if he comes back. If Keenan Allen comes back and Mike Williams starts to produce, then Mike Williams' master potion piece is Keenan Allen. But if Mike Williams doesn't do good, last season may have been his only season that really was fantasy productive.
I mean, if you're solid at running back, I'll do this trade. I'm in on Mike Williams from what I've seen this year, and Zach Ertz. Again, like I said, I think it's going to be very touchdown dependent maybe when D Hop is back, but I still think that will open up the offense with D Hop being back. It'll help Kyler. Their offense is only going to get better.
Yeah.
And I am a Mike Williams fan this season anyway. So if you're good at running back, I would do the trade.
Yeah, I do agree. If you're good on running back, if you have like 2 official starters and you're trying to get rid of Jacobs, I really think you can get more for what Jacobs is right now. I think you can get more than Mike Williams and Zach Ertz a little bit. Not too much more, but a little bit more wide receiver productive anyways of a player. Mike Williams obviously has been productive, but I just want to see what he does for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably in that range. I know I brought up T. Higgins again, but I just think T. Higgins, because he's a wide receiver 1 playing behind a wide receiver 1, if you know what I mean. He is the wide receiver 2 in that offense, but you put him into any other offense and he is the wide receiver 1. So I think he's a guy that people should be targeting. But I don't mind that trade. I think it's probably around right. I think it's going to be hard for the guy on the other side, to think about it. Oh, Josh Jacobs coming off a big week. Will I accept? So yeah, I don't mind it. I'd be interested to see how that one falls. But I definitely would take it if it was offered to me. I think I want the Mike Williams.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Mike Williams and his production does, as well as Josh Jacobs, and whether Mike McDaniels is the key piece for Josh Jacobs to be fantasy relevant. We'll have to see if Josh Jacobs and McDaniels stays at their positions and their starting roles, because McDaniels could get fired. But once again, waiver wire tight ends Gerald Everett, Hayden Hurst. That's going to do it here in today's episode. Make sure you use code SportsTimeHQ on Underdog Fantasy. They'll match your first deposit up to $100. Next week, we'll be back this time at 11 a.m. Only for next week. We'll be back at 11 a.m. Eastern time. It won't be 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. So if you're looking at watching us at 12:30, you'll be watching the replay of it because we'll not be here. So anyways, that's going to do it here for today's show. I'm Fernando. I'm your host of Sports Time HQ. Joining with me today is my great co-host, Keith. You can follow him all over social media at SwampDonkey_90. Be sure to follow him and his fiance on Instagram at HuddleUp_NFL. That's going to do it once again here today. We'll see you guys all next Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time here.